So the Chiefs take the Browns on this Sunday in a game that they should win if the pass rush can hold up, and if they can, I feel a breakout game coming from an already rising receiver. So I'll break down why I think that is as I preview this game, talk about a new defensive tackle the Chiefs just signed, Hollywood Brown officially back to practice, and more. But first, how about those? All right, first up, Thursday night, Rapoport confirmed what we had all been hearing for a little while now, and that is Hollywood Brown did indeed finally get clearance from his surgeon to practice. Pete Sweeney of Arrowhead Pride said that the plan was for Brown to start practicing today, Friday, and his window did indeed officially open up. So his 21-day window to return is open per Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest, among many others, and Hollywood could be seen out there practicing today. Then after this was announced last night, Mahomes took to his X account to share the clock emoji, TikTok, to which Hollywood Brown himself echoed, TikTok to Mahomes' TikTok. So yeah, time is ticking. The return of Hollywood Brown is officially very near. He won't play Sunday against the Browns, of course. Andy Reid already said that, with a small chance. Andy didn't say this, but there is a small chance he could play against the Texans. But we will see how he looks next week at practice and how that is trending. You might see him out there, but the ultimate goal per Nate Taylor of The Athletic is to have him return for the Christmas matchup against the Steelers. For now, the Chiefs offense finds themselves sans Hollywood, and with Mahomes continuing to look to Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins, and Xavier Worthy kind of in that order of targets, I still like their odds, even with Hollywood not out there. The Browns' defense doesn't scream elite on paper, allowing 25.8 points per game, which is 26th. They are also 26th in yards per play, 11th on third downs, 19th in the red zone, 22nd in rushing yards allowed per game, 13th in passing yards allowed per game. However, they have Myles Garrett along their D-line, and I shared earlier this week that the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year is fourth among all pass rushers and pressures with 58, and is tied for second in sacks with 11 on the year. That's tied with Nick Bonito of the Broncos, who also has 11. The only pass rusher to have more sacks is Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals, and honestly, he is part of the reason, talking about Hendrickson, why Kingsley Suamataia is on the bench right now. If you guys remember, Hendrickson was an absolute game wrecker week 2 against KC, and with DJ Humphries trending towards not playing, Andy Reid wouldn't officially rule him out, but he didn't participate all week at practice, so highly doubt he's playing. The Chiefs O-line coach Andy Heck shared yesterday that DJ Humphries has done a decent job in his first game back, improving as time went on before he went down with the hamstring. But with him out, I've been told that the Chiefs have been planning for two different options: Wanya Morris to start at left tackle or Joe Tooney. Andy Reid said today that several players have rotated in at the left tackle spot. However, he was non-committal on who would indeed start, saying today they are still weighing out the options, and we'll see how it plays out on Sunday, meaning he probably already knows, but isn't going to tip his hand either way. Well, regardless if it is actually Wanya Morris or Joe Tooney, it's not going to be an easy battle in the trenches. That's for sure. So I've got to talk about how the Chiefs offense can hopefully overcome that, including a guy I think shines in this game. But before I do, if you haven't already, you need to make plans to get out to the last home game at Arrowhead before the playoffs. So that's right. There's only one regular season home game remaining, which is the matchup against the Texans on Saturday, December 21st. And that is where my special hookup from today's sponsor, SeatGeek, comes right in. Everyone can use my code HBTC10 and get 10% off any tickets on SeatGeek, whether you are a new customer or not. This includes Chiefs games or any other NFL games, as well as other sports, concerts, festivals, you name it. SeatGeek makes the process easy for you as well, rating tickets on a scale of 1 to 10. So just look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. And no matter how many times you've bought tickets using SeatGeek before, code HBTC10 is going to get it done. So take out your phone, open up the SeatGeek app, and add code HBTC10 to your account ASAP, because this offer is only available for a limited time. All right, the Browns defense is second in pressure percentage, blitzing almost 30% of the time, which is top 10 in the NFL. So that is something to watch for. Can Mahomes have enough time in the pocket to throw to his pass catchers, and can they get open if the Browns send pressure? Well, Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins aren't guys that are going to beat man coverage a lot, but how about Xavier Worthy and his speed? We'll talk about Worthy in a second, but on the subject of pressure, Mahomes, he's been sacked 3 or more times in 3 straight games, 35 sacks on the season, which is a career high with 4 games still remaining. Good God. Now, Cleveland allows 4.5 yards per carry on the ground, So we do need the Chiefs to help mitigate these pressures by keeping the defense honest and establishing the run game. They tried early on last week, but quickly went away from it, opting instead for like a quicker passing game, a lot of quick passes left and right as an extension of the run. But the problem is, even with that, the more times that Mahomes drops back to pass, quick pass or not, the more his chances are of being hit, pressured, sacked, etc. Pacheco was the lead back last week, toting the rock 14 times for 55 yards and 3.9 a carry. Meanwhile, Hunt had 5 carries for 16 and just 3.2 yards per carry. So please, let this be either a Hunt against his former team game or Isaiah Pacheco. I don't really care which, just get the run game going, please and thank you. Now, run game getting established or not, we know the Chiefs are going to pass the ball. Mahomes has attempted at least 37 passes in the last 6 out of 7 games, and even though it looks like rain off and on all day on Sunday in Cleveland, I still imagine they throw the ball quite a bit. Cleveland does have the 5th worst coverage grade in the league per PFF. They're 27th in EPA per play allowed and are tied for the 3rd fewest INTs in the league. And thankfully, Mahomes hasn't thrown any interceptions in his last 3 games, so I'm not extremely worried about that on that front. Kelsey and D-Hop will obviously be top targets out there, but the defense will also be focusing on them out there. And that might give Xavier Worthy some more opportunities to get involved, which is what he's been doing as time has gone on this season. He's averaged about 4.5 catches for 50 yards a game over the last 4, and pass game coordinator of the Chiefs, Joe Blameyer, spoke to the media yesterday saying they are building more ways in for Xavier than just deep shots because he's dangerous with the ball in his hands. Well, it's been working, so keep feeding the guy. Did you know Worthy is actually tied for 2nd in touchdowns among all rookie wideouts with 6? That is if you combine his 2 rushing touchdowns, because the guys at the top have 0 rushing touchdowns. So with Worthy continuing to show he can be trusted out there, I think Mahomes is going to look his way a bit more often. And that's why I'm really feeling a breakout Worthy game this Sunday, weather permitting, of course. He and Mahomes have been just a tick off on several deep balls, whether Worthy has stepped out of bounds, Mahomes hasn't had the time, or just flat out missed. I mean, if you look at those 5 or so passes that have been misconnected on, Worthy could have closer to 700 yards for like 8 or 9 touchdowns rather than 448 with 4 receiving touchdowns. Plus, the Browns defense, aside from what I just said a bit ago about their EPA per play, 27th in the league, yikes, they also allow the 4th most yards per pass, and just 2 weeks ago, they gave up a 93-yarder to Marvin Mims Jr. Now, I'm not saying Worthy does that, but I am feeling good about this potentially being a Worthy game with Hop and Trav getting a lot of the attention, the run game getting established, maybe play action, boom, deep shot to Worthy, touchdown Kansas City. Just please hold up, O-line, for the love of God. Now, another reliable pass catcher that has hands of literal glue most times is DeAndre Hopkins. Joe Blameyer, pass game coordinator, said that DeAndre's got more plays throughout his career that he's shown he's great at, that they have yet to take advantage of, so there's more options for him available than what they've shown, and that means we aren't seeing everything from D-Hop just yet, and they might, in fact, hold the cards of D-Hop closely to their chest until the playoff run. Then don't forget about Noah Gray, who's having a career year, and Justin Watson, who doesn't get the ball thrown his way often, but catches 80% of the contested catches thrown his way. I think I heard that on a PFF podcast, and that leads the league, which is a pretty wild stat. I cannot lie. Something else that's pretty wild is the amount of chunk plays or explosive plays that the Chiefs defense has given up this year. They are 27th in EPA per play on deep passes since Jalen Watson has been out due to injury, and Chiefs defensive backs coach Dave Merritt said that this is the most they've given up in the 6 years he's been here in KC, talking about deep passes down the field. Thankfully, Joshua Williams, who sustained a chest injury in the Chargers game last week and didn't actually finish out the game, should be playing this week, and Merritt said he will be the perfect guy to be out there and use his length against some of the wideouts that they have to play against this week. Safety Jaden Hicks played more snaps last week, and Merritt made it seem like that trend will continue this week as well. And I will say this, they need to figure something out, and hopefully the eventual return of the newly signed Steven Nelson, who's on the practice squad right now, will allow McDuffie to move inside from time to time because Chamari has been struggling a bit, to say the least, in the slot. That's a convo for another day, though, because Nelson, he's not going to be out there, probably going to take a few weeks to ramp up, and you're going to have to use who you've got. Well, one guy they've got to watch out for is Jerry Jeudy. This man is playing like a borderline tier 1 receiver rather than a tier 3 per Steve Smith. And he almost has 1,000 yards on the season again with 4 games still left to be played. He's also averaging 131.5 yards a game over the last 4, which is freaking nuts. Then Elijah Moore just had 8 catches for 111 yards 2 weeks ago against Denver, and you can't sleep on him. And honestly, probably need to watch out for him because Cedric Tillman once again is not going to return. He did not clear concussion protocol. And they will also have David Njoku out as well, who is their tight end 1. On Njoku, I'm not sure if he plays or not because Mary Kay Cabot reported that he's likely to sit Sunday versus the Chiefs. And offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey says if he can't play, they'll go tight end by committee. The Browns offense matches up well against Kansas City's defense, even though you can't really look at their season-long stats to draw conclusions, because Deshaun Watson was their quarterback all the way up until like mid-October, was playing at a historically poor level until he ruptured his Achilles and Jameis Winston took over. Now, they are only 2-4 since Winston took over. He's thrown 12 touchdown passes to 9 interceptions in his 6 games as a starter since Watson went down. So it's been, very up and down for the Jameis Winston experience, to say the least. But he's either going to throw the most beautiful 50-plus yard deep bomb for a touchdown you've ever seen, or hopefully gift the Chiefs some very boneheaded interceptions. KC's D doesn't have a ton of takeaways on the year, so it would be extremely helpful if they could get the ball back an extra time or two from Mahomes and company, an offense that has had to matriculate the ball down the field due to lack of explosive plays. Something the Chiefs defense doesn't have a lot of this year is sacks. For whatever reason, they're like bottom 7 this season, even though they have almost the same exact defensive line from last year. And even though they blitz at the 3rd highest rate and do get pressure, decent pressure to be honest, when doing that, they are 4th in the NFL in pressure percentage when blitzing. It leaves the secondary more exposed, and teams have been able to take advantage of one-on-one matchups that they like, pretty much throw an F-it ball, and more times than not, the opponent's wide receiver or pass catcher comes down with the ball, and the Chiefs defensive back loses their one-on-one. Regardless, the reason why the Chiefs defense blitzes so much is because without blitzing, according to Price Carter of Arrowhead Addict, the front 4 has the 3rd lowest pressure percentage in the NFL. That's not great, but hopefully Charles Omenihu continues to step up since he's now back for his 3rd game, and Chris Jones can find some favorable matchups in this one, maybe against Joel Bitonio if he plays, because he's been dealing with some sort of back issue all week. For what it's worth, Winston has been sacked at least 3 times in 4 of the last 5 games, and I would really hope that trend continues in this one. We also can't forget that they have Jerome Ford and the machine of a running back, Nick Chubb, in the run game on the ground, but they haven't really been effective lately. Meanwhile, the Chiefs defense is only allowing 3.8 yards per rush, which is 2nd best in the NFL. That is why I think the Browns probably have to throw the ball a lot more, and they will opt to try and take advantage of the Chiefs' seemingly struggling secondary. All in all, this is a matchup the Chiefs should win, but it will probably be a very scary, close, down-to-the-wire, near-heart attack style ending. Most people are picking Kansas City to win, as am I, by a score of 21-17. KC is favored by 3, I believe, so we shall see if they can beat the spread or not. Wouldn't hold my breath about it, but all in all, I'm going with another Chiefs W, and that is what matters at the end of the day. And in a game where every point matters, I'm going to be looking to see if Matthew Wright could repeat his performance from last week. He made 4 field goals after all, including the game winner, even if the last kick was very stressful and we thought wasn't going to be good. Now, Harrison Butker's window to return from IR is open, so he practiced this week, but special teams coordinator Dave Tobe made it seem like Butker may need a couple weeks first before he does return. Even though Andy Reid said today there's a chance Butker can play this Sunday, I'm just really not sure at this point in time, so I think Matthew Wright is given the go once again. Something else that's interesting is the fact that the Browns are the worst team in the NFL in the second quarter with a negative 73-point differential thanks to Pickenem's graphic here. Meanwhile, the Chiefs have a positive 48-point differential in the second quarter. That second quarter, for whatever reason, is a time where the Chiefs need to do all they can to put up at least 10 points. 14 would be ideal, but beggars can't be choosers. With all that being said, let me know your thoughts on this game, along with your score prediction and key players that could make a difference in this one. And before I get to the final injury report that's worth taking a look at, here are my 4 picks for this game through the season-long partner of the channel, Underdog. Noah Gray's caught 4 passes, 4 games in a row, so the higher on him. Next, Jameis Winston's thrown a pass for longer than 29.5 yards in the last 4 out of 6 games. And the Chiefs like to give up deep ball after deep ball, chunk play after chunk play, so give me the higher on that too. Then Worthy's averaging 50 yards a game over the last 4, so I really do like the higher on 39.5. And what kind of a man would I be if I didn't pick his higher, while also saying he's going to have a breakout game, so we had to do it. And finally, Jerry Jeudy's higher on 70.5 receiving yards almost feels like a gimme. He's done this in 5 of his last 6 games, so had to hit the higher on that. And those are my 4 picks. A link to those are in the description down below. And don't forget to use code HBTC, as new signups will get up to $1,000 in bonus cash, plus a gimme pick to use in the lobby. All right, so for the Chiefs injury report, there's nothing really surprising here. DJ Humphries is going to be doubtful, meaning he probably doesn't play. I mean, most times if a player doesn't practice all week long, they're not playing unless it's like Travis Kelce or something. We'll see what happens about the rotation of the left tackle room and what that ends up looking like on game day. Andy Reid basically said, hey, we don't know what we're doing. Nate Taylor of The Athletic just spoke on 96.5 The Fan, I believe, just a bit ago, saying he would put his bets basically on Joe Thuney kicking out rather than Wanye Morris starting. So that is pretty interesting indeed. The only other 2 that had statuses were Marquise Hollywood Brown. I mean, that's not a surprise. He's out. He just had his practice window to return open up today, so he's not playing. And then Harrison Butker is questionable. I doubt he plays, but you never know. They got Matthew Wright on the roster, so if Butker is not able to go, obviously that's going to be Matthew Wright. For the Cleveland Browns, Joe Bitonio, their guard, questionable. He did upgrade from not participating Wednesday, Thursday, limited Friday, so he's trending in an upward direction. Mike Hall Jr., he is trending in an upward direction as well. That's their defensive tackle with a knee. The only other one that I really need to look at with you guys is David Njoku, the tight end. He did not practice all week, yet is listed as questionable. I doubt he plays, but I guess we'll see. That's a hamstring. Those can re-aggravate pretty easy and keep you out for a longer period of time. And so I would think they wouldn't rush him out there unless they feel like he's not going to aggravate that much further. And that would be good for the Chiefs and their secondary, because that's one less pass catcher running around out there that you have to worry about. And before I get out of here, the Chiefs also made a signing today to the practice squad. They signed a big old defensive tackle to the practice squad. A corresponding move hasn't been announced, and off the top of my head, I can't recall if they had one spot available or they needed to make room for him. But I think if they did need to make room for Siaki Ika, they would have also said who was let go on the transaction report, because as you can see here, Aaron Wilson said Chiefs signed Siaki Ika to the practice squad. Big guy. He was a 3rd-round pick by the Browns in 2023. Price Carter of Arrowhead Addict says massive 2-gapping run stuffer that just never really put it together. He played a couple years in LSU, couple years in Baylor. His standout year was in 2021, 13 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. A couple things about this signing real quick. I think he could be some depth just in case the run stuffer on the Chiefs roster right now, Mike Pennell, happened to get injured, but also maybe this is a low-risk signing of a guy that could develop for life after Mike Pennell. You never really know. Again, just a huge guy, a run stuffer. Nothing really stands out extremely impressive as far as athletic ability from an RAS standpoint, but when you're that big and you can move, I mean, that's a win. And he also shed some weight, I believe, heading into this season as well. So he's probably more athletic and even faster than his relative athletic score even shows. But there you go. The Chiefs made a roster move. They got all kinds of stuff going on right now. Hollywood Brown is back. Well, he's not playing this week, but Harrison Butker's back as well. A lot of things trending in a good direction. Just need to button up this left tackle situation. A Band-Aid maybe with Joe Thuney on Sunday. And then hopefully DJ Humphries is back for the next game against the Houston Texans. Let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments down below. Who's going to win this game? What do you think of this signing? And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?